June 7th, 2010. In South Beach, Miami, one of my favorite places on the planet. That to me was probably the best debut I've ever seen. And I'm not saying it because I was a part of it, and I love wrestling. And that was the best debut that I've ever seen, or one of. And when we went out there, I mean, they've had factions debut before, and people run in and jump people. But when we went out there, and the way that Vince McMahon set that up, and the way that we structured it, the fans were so in shock and in awe because we did it slowly. And I remember standing in the corner where, when the camera caught me, I was just standing there, and I put that was actually the T-mask was a sleeve off of one of my T-shirts. And the mask now that everybody wears now, or a lot of people wear, but it was a sleeve off one of my T-shirts, and I made it into a mask. But I remember just standing there, and the woman that was standing next to me looked up at me and screamed. And I remember laughing under the mask because she couldn't hear me. I'm in my pose or whatever, and she looked up and saw that I was standing next to her and screamed. And then my cue came, and I jumped the guardrail and stood there and waited, and then everybody else jumped the guardrail. When we got in, it was like people were like in awe. And then once we got in the ring, when David Otunga punched out the ref, and then I think it was Skip Sheffield, I want to say Darren Young and Heath Slater, they took out the ring announcers, and they took out Jerry the King and everybody, and they took out the security. When they did that, then people were like, wait a minute, this is different. This is different. And it was just us and Cena. Like, people have never come in and beat up the ref and taken out security, and the cameraman. Like, I think Darren Young knocked out the cameraman. And then that was one of the things that we were like, okay, wait a minute, something's wrong. And that was the design, that was the feel they wanted the Nexus to have. When we came out, it wasn't just they're about to kick some butt. It was something's wrong. That was the feel. And we didn't just go out and just jump Cena. We beat the mess out of them. But, they told us, destroy everything. And if you don't, you're fired. We're like, okay. And it had to be completely a secret. And we had the armbands, and we couldn't tell anybody. And we went out there and ripped up the ring, ripped up everything, broke cameras, broke chairs, ripped up the set. Man, let me tell you, I have never felt such a more deafening silence in my life than I did that night in South Beach. It was so quiet, but the silence was deafening. Like, there were people crying. There were people when Taker lost at Mania, the same reaction. Like, people were in shock, like they couldn't believe what they were watching. And it was just amazing. Like, it was just, I've never felt like that, other than like when my children were born. And when I debuted, like, it was just a feeling, like, it was like, wow, like, how in the world do you live life without experiencing something like this? And it was amazing. It was amazing.